Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Football Club Podcast. Today with Emmanuel, Ryan, and myself, we have a very special guest. Not only the captain of Charlotte Independence, but also one of my great friends, Clay Dimick. How are you?
Good. Thank you guys for having me. Excited to be here and talk to y'all.
Last week you said you had a big surprise.
Yeah. I did say that, so I'm excited that he's here. We're gonna get to talk to him about a little bit of the state of U.S. soccer, USL, U.S. Open Cup, everything that's going on this week and next week. So thank you for being here, Clay. But how was your weekend? I know it was Easter weekend and you have a kid. How was that?
No, I appreciate it. It was good. We have three boys, so Easter weekend was a lot of fun. With the church in the morning and then
The Easter activities, egg hunt, Easter baskets, stuff like that. But yeah, just try to be intentional about spending my off days with my family, my kids, and my wife. And so can't really ask for much more. It was awesome.
Awesome, man. We're really excited to have you here, and I'm sure Ryan is super excited. I'm sure you have all the facts there and all the information. What can you tell us about Clay Dimick? What do you got?
I mean, it depends on where you want to start. Started off in the Division Two ranks in the NCAA. Belmont Abbey made his way through, had to get a trial through the USL PDL. Kind of took his way around what is now USL League Two. Got a tryout with the Charlotte Independence. Signed a contract with them when they were still in USL Championship. Still a staple with them in USL League One, and kind of going off of that. Clay, one of the big things that's kind of made the soccer headlines this year was, this recent interview that Landon Donovan did on the Rich Eisen show, talking about how the college system is something that's really been a bit of a mystery for USA Soccer. John went to a D1 program, you went to a D2 program. I was kind of wondering if you guys could go back and forth on what the difference in the experience is like, just on that NCAA perspective from D2 versus D1 that you guys have dealt with.
Yeah, I think it's a good question because I think even in the divisions themselves, like it varies from where you go. John obviously played at one of the best programs in the country and still is. So obviously all eyes are going to be on them. And I knew going where I went, like at first it was just taking a good scholarship and playing right away. So I didn't want to sit the bench my freshman year. And so I knew going there, when my D1 interest kind of fell through at Stetson and UAB, then this was like kind of my fallback at the time. Knowing what I know now, like why I went there was God's plan all along, but kind of frustrated of ending up there and then taking um, the cookie as it came and went and played my freshman year. I kind of opened my eyes like, okay, well, the level's way higher than I thought. In Division Two, there's less rules in terms of foreigners than Division One, so the level was high from my first year. And then I think, like you mentioned, playing in PDL then in USL two is what it's called now, but trying to push myself against guys like John and who play at big Division One schools, I kind of got that experience as well. But so it's different, but I think like part of that kind of made me who I am, trying to go against the adversity and trying to grind my way to get where I needed to go. And so I was thankful for it. But yeah, it's a totally different experience, I would say.
Yeah, I think Clay makes really good points, and I do feel like a lot of people don't really understand that there's not that big of a difference between D1, D2, NIA schools because there's a lot of foreigners, a lot of great players in all the leagues, and you see that in PDL, you or even in the pros, like there's a lot of pros that play D2. Now it's a little different too because kids go to school D2 and then they transfer, and now the transfer portal is kind of changed everything in college soccer. But back in the day, it was very competitive in D2. One of my best friends from soccer too, Santi Moar, played against you in college, played D2, and he's been one of the best players in USL Championship history. So there was a lot of players of good quality, and I think you know Clay's story of resilience of going to a D2, never giving up, and then establishing himself as a
But
We're having a lot of technical difficulties today. Where's the balloon thing today? Oh, they have it.
Yeah.
Go take it from them.
Don't start over. You were talking about his story of resilience.
Am I good? Okay. Yeah, I mean, his story is so. Where the fuck did it go? I don't know where to pick up.
If you want, I have the transcript in front of me. You last said it's a story of resilience going from D2, never giving up, and then the light cut out.
Oh yeah. And then establishing himself as one of the best players in USL League One, and he's played here for 7-8 years. So I guess how is that feeling for you? From trying out and making yourself a name in here in Charlotte, and you've been here for 8 years. You're the captain. I think the second player with most games in the club history. How do you feel you accomplished that?
Yeah, well, obviously, thanks for saying all that because, yeah, I don't know. I'm humbled that I'm even in this position now because if you were to ask me when I was coming in as a rookie or trying in preseason to even earn a contract, it would have been hard for me to say like I was going to get here someday. And I think it's just kind of a story of like where my faith and resilience, like you said, has gotten me in life. And from the beginning of my life, like I just have a lot of adversity and I'm thankful for it because it's made me who I am. Even in my professional career, there's been a lot of adversity. Like it's easy to sit back and see from now in the rear view of like, oh, he's the captain, like he plays each game, like blah blah blah. But like I think something I'm thankful for is like that's never been given to me. I've had to earn it. Even like coming in this year, I had to earn it. Every day, like I tell myself, like you have to earn it. And like I know you have a similar mindset too, and it's something we pride ourselves on. We haven't been given a lot, like just free handouts, and I think like in today's world, that's something that I want to teach my kids. And so all of that has like made me into the person and father and husband that I am. So yeah, it's just I'm proud of it, but I also like never want to get complacent, and I want to be a leader and a captain who guys see as like the hardest worker, not just somebody who goes in and like is going through the motions. But like I don't think a captain or leader has to vocally lead, and so vocally lead all the time. Obviously, there's a time for that, but I want to be a leader who leads by example and like sets the tone in that sense. So, kind of looking back on the experience, I think a lot of that has given me the position I am now, and I just don't want to take it for granted because I'm super grateful for it.
For sure. And Clay, you spoke about the different levels there is between the Division 2 and Division 1. And John, you're saying that there's not a whole lot of big of a gap, right? And I remember Brent Bronico speaking about when he got drafted. He did mention that the best player he played in college, in comparison to the players he was facing, they were the worst player. How when you made that step into the professional realm, for you, for John, what was that like? That first year.
Yeah, I mean, so my first year when I first entered preseason, at the time in 2019, the Independents had just switched coaches to a guy named Jim McGinnis who was coming from Celtic FC. So he had brought like the young superstar from Celtic, Mark Hill, and then they had gotten Andrew Gutman on loan, who was signed to Celtic, and then they had brought in a guy who was playing either for Feyenoord, is that the name? And
Yeah.
somewhere like that. And then we had Steven Tico who captained the French. So I'm just saying all this because there was like Dom Maduro, Aaron Mon, like the roster was ridiculous. It was basically everybody there had played at a higher level. Zion Jones was with the youth national team. Nicky Jackson on loan from Colorado Rapids. And then here I am coming from like a small Division 2 school, and I was like, holy cow, like this is crazy. But what an experience. And I just tried to like soak in all the experience and knowledge I could get from these guys. None of them had less than like 4 or 5 years at the highest level. And even Andrew coming in as a rookie, he was up for the award, John, like the Mac Herman, is it? So he was up for that, like best college player. And I'm like, it's easy for me to think I'm out of my league right now, but also like what an opportunity to just come in, learn from these guys, and just grind it out. So yeah, like looking at Andrew at the time, I think he just got signed from Celtic. He was up for the Mac Herman, but then on the same team, you have some guy who's played like 100 MLS games, played for the Ghana national team in Dom Oduro. So I think that's one of the coolest things about our league is like the level is really high, and just people don't know it yet, but there's some players and people that have played at really high levels.
I would agree, and I think that's just soccer for you, because for me, I mean, I got drafted to the same team as Brent and Chicago Fire. I was I came from winning the Herman Trophy as best player in college, whatever. I never really looked into it and said, wow, I'm the best player in college. But there was a certain pressure, and then you go into an MLS environment where you're sharing a locker room with a world champion, a World Cup champion, a Champions League winner, and then you're just his teammate at that point. And I think that's kind of the mentality you have to have as a player, where it's just like, okay, I respect everything you're done, but then you're equal, and the expectation doesn't change. And for me specifically, it was hard because the jump was really big and it was a really hard adjustment. But that's how football goes too. There's opportunities, there's moments. You score a goal, you play 5 games in a row, things can change. But there are levels for a reason as well, because these players are top class, and it's always a joy to be able to play with players of that caliber, because you get to learn so much from them, not only on the field but also leadership and how to act in the locker room.
Yeah, and one of the other parts of kind of you coming back was, you had to go through the tryouts. You probably had a temporary contract before being fully on with Charlotte. Go through back then just the entire trial process. You're trying to make a pro roster. You were kind of around PDL at the time, went overseas, trying to make it in the US. What was just the entire trial process like? And then when all that is kind of said and done, take us kind of through the moment where you get the call that you're going to be a part of this independent roster at this top second division that is USL at the time.
Yeah. So finishing my senior season at Belmont Abbey, going into that, I had played in West Virginia for the USL 2 or PDL team. And I did that because the coach who was recruiting me said I would like come in and start right away as a right back. And I was like, that was my first time playing right back. So like I've only been a right back for X amount of years. Before that I was a center mid. And so I knew like if I wanted to have a career at this game, that was my best bet, just for some of the traits that I had. And so I went to that summer and took it as like, let me see if I can play at this level. The team was really good. Like we were going to compete against really good teams. We played in the Charlotte Eagles division, who won the national championship. I had a really good year, and spoke to my college coach and was like, look, like I want to do something after this year. I want to try to make it pro. And so we kind of had that idea going into it, and he got in touch with some people. And after my senior season ended, thanks to the help of like the Santi Moore guy, his team, there were scouts and agents watching the game when we played them, and I had gotten asked to go on trial with the Colorado Switchbacks in February. So I left college, went there, and was there for like a month. I was there until the last day, and I thought I was going to get signed. Like I was having a really good preseason. I was enjoying it. I was learning a lot. I was getting a lot of experience. And then they let me go on the last day, and I was kind of crushed, and I was like, I didn't know how stuff works, and I was obviously coming from a place that nobody looks at to go pro. So I kind of went back to square one. Uh, like you said, went around, played PDL, went overseas, tried to get experience, and then going into the next preseason, I was brought into preseason by Bethlehem Steel, Brennan Burke at Bethlehem Steel, who's now at Hartford, and the Richmond Kickers. And I actually was offered a contract by the Richmond Kickers, but it was at the time there was no USLPA, so there was no CBA, so there was like no minimum contract. So they like I wasn't gonna have housing, and I was like, I can't afford this. So I was like, give me some time to think about it. I went home on the weekend. And when I went home on the weekend, I got back in touch with Dave Dixon, who I ended up playing for the Charlotte Eagles that summer, who I knew from there. So I was like, hey, like, this is the deal. Like, what is the opportunities at the Independence like? He was like, I can't promise anything, but you can come and train next week. So I went and trained, and there's injuries to the defenders, and I started the game against NCFC in preseason. Did well enough for them to say, like, you can come again next week. And so at this point, I was dating my now wife, and I was like, I can't really make it work in Richmond. Like, what do you think? And I just said, let me try to make it work here in Charlotte. And worst case, like if I have to play another summer with the Charlotte Eagles, I'll do that. But I think like I just felt a pull to stay in Charlotte. So then, yeah, it just turned into like, oh, I did well the next week, come back. I did well the next week, come back. And eventually that led to a contract. And I think like if you were to ask John, he'll probably say the same thing. Like if you watched me for one day, you wouldn't be like, oh, this guy is like unreal. Like he's flashy, blah, blah, blah. But I'm more the type of player to like, if you came and watched us for a week or 2 weeks, like you'd get the same Clay every day. And I think that's like one of my biggest attributes is like reliability and consistency. So it took a while to win the staff over, but I think over time, like they started to realize that they could count on me and trust me, and I was going to be the same Clay every single day. And so, yeah, I was offered the contract, and it was kind of like a lifelong dream come true. But it was weird because like in the moment I thought like when I was gonna sign it, I'd be like, oh, like dang, like lifelong dream come true. But it was more turned into like, okay, now I want my debut. Like I want to keep going. I'm getting hungrier and hungrier. So yeah, it was a grind to get it. And then like when I signed it, it was an even bigger grind to prove myself in the league. And that didn't come until like the end of my rookie year. I had a spell of like 10 games. And I think like that's when I really showed who I was as a player to the staff here, but also to the league. And I just kind of have built momentum off of that each year and each time I've been given the chance to play.
So you established yourself as a consistent player on the roster for Charlotte Independence, and then here comes, we know the story of your injury. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So in 2023, you can probably see the scar still, but I think it was in August is when I first started feeling something in my neck, and like it happened after a game against Northern Colorado at home. Just felt like a really, really sore neck. Is like almost if you sleep wrong and then you wake up and like can hardly move your neck around. So then I went home to my wife and we had a friend in town and we were all hanging out in the kitchen after the game. We had put our kids to bed and we were all just chatting. I was like, I don't know what's wrong, but like my neck is really, really sore. And she's like, oh, like maybe you just tweaked it. So then the next morning I woke up and every time like I would look up like this, look up like that, or like clear my throat like that, I would get like almost like you get electric shock down your body. So I was like, that feels weird. And then like the trainer said, maybe it's nerves or this and that. A week later, I played another game. The symptoms got worse each time I headed the ball or like tensed up to do like an action, like a tackle or like shoulder to shoulder. Like everything got tensed up in my neck. Like I would lose feeling to the point where I was like starting to trip over my left leg or like my left hand was like going numb. I was like, what's going on, man? And then they sent me to the hospital to get blood work because they thought maybe something is wrong, like inside that we can't see. Blood work thankfully came back fine because that obviously was like worst case scenario. Well, at the time, I thought it was worst case scenario. So like I called my wife, and we had an away game in California that next day. So I was like, hey, like the blood work came back fine. And the doctor said, oh, as far as I'm concerned, like you're good to go, like nothing seriously wrong. I was like, okay, thank you. And then like something in Mike, our coach, like his gut and my gut just said like something. We need to do some more. And so they sent me to get an MRI. And at this point, like when I was walking into the MRI, like I couldn't really know where my left foot was going to touch the ground. I was just like kind of lost in the space of like body awareness. So I was like tripping over stuff. I was like, what's going on? Got the MRI, and then they said like, yeah, you ruptured 2 discs in your cervical spine. For people who aren't familiar, like your cervical spine is like from here up. This is where C4, C5 is. And so they went in the front and had to like take the 2 ruptured discs off the spinal cord because it was like all things considered, it was like a centimeter away from going through the spinal cord. And obviously, if it goes through the spinal cord, then you're paralyzed. So they were just saying how thankful or how lucky and blessed I was that it didn't go all the way through because then I would have been paralyzed. And they said like, you're a header away or like a trip away. So then they were like, well, we got to do the surgery quick. Because we don't know how much of the neurological stuff you lost you'll get back. It's not really guaranteed. So they went in, took the ruptured discs out, put 2 new ones in, which is a new surgery that was kind of like a test. And I was the first pro athlete to get that type of surgery specifically in terms of like 2 artificial discs. So did that, took it out, and then from there it was just kind of like a rehab game of like it's not the same as like an ACL or Achilles if you do it like like the steps to take to get back. This was kind of just praying and doing everything I could to hopefully get this stuff back because I had forgot how to use like I couldn't button a button or zip a zipper with my left hand. So like the things you do with your left foot, especially as a soccer player in terms of like going over hurdles or even taking my left foot to the right side of my body, like my brain like couldn't calculate that. So I remember sitting in the rehab the first day and I just like broke down crying and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I couldn't even pick my left foot off the ground. So it was a really tough time. And it was like, I'm really thankful for it because I grew stronger in my faith and my wife and I's marriage grew stronger and like the role model that I want to be to my boys, like going through that stuff kind of alters your life in a way that you don't forget. So I'm really thankful for it. But yeah, it was a crazy injury that I never thought I would ever have to go through something like that.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us. I think this story just kind of defines you as a person, and what you've accomplished is just amazing. Not from the fact of like you said, no, I'm not a flashy player. I mean, you're one of the players with the most amount of games in the history of the league, and you don't get that out of nowhere, So everything you talked about, your resilience, your way to approach things that maybe people could not ever deal with is really inspiring and says a lot about you, and about the great person you are and your mentality. Um, so yeah, massive respect from that side. So I think it's really interesting for me because I've been here in North Carolina I moved here 11 years ago, but you're basically a Charlotte local. So moving on to something a little exciting, right? Next week, Charlotte FC playing against Charlotte Independence in the Open Cup. You went to college here. You've been playing for Charlotte Independence. This is your 8th year. What does this game mean to you, to the city? Are you excited?
Yeah, looking forward to it. I think like even just you talking about it like gets you the butterflies. Like these are the games you look forward to. When Charlotte FC was announced that they were coming into town, everybody obviously switches from who was talking about Independence and they automatically go over to Charlotte FC. So I think for us to get this opportunity on this stage, like it's just a testament to how hard we work and like the recognition I think we deserve as a club and as players. And so it's definitely something to look forward to. And like you said, since Charlotte has become home to my wife, kids, and I, like there's just some more ties to it. Like it makes it more special. And like Brant Bronico is on that team and good friends with him, and our wives are good friends, and we're raising our kids together. So I think like there's so many cool things that are going to happen on the field on Wednesday, and hopefully we'll put out a good performance as well.
I have no doubt of it. What the big question for me is, Emmanuel's a big Charlotte FC fan.
Wow.
And
I'm a Charlotte supporter.
no, listen to my question.
Okay.
Who do you want to win? You got to choose.
It's all about the friends you make along the way. That's all that matters, bro.
That's not an answer.
See, to me, this is a funny question because it's one of those situations where you would want both teams to win. But even if it doesn't matter who wins, there's still going to be somebody representing Charlotte at the U.S. Open Cup, right? In the next round. So to me, that's a little bit more of like what matters in this situation because we're talking about Charlotte as a soccer city too, and players like Clay, like Brant Bronico, like there's something about Charlotte that produces very consistent, very determined players. So it's going to be interesting to see the way Charlotte Crown Legacy continues to develop players, Charlotte Independence, Charlotte Eagles, Metro, all these other Charlotte academies. They have a certain DNA in them that just produce consistent players that play hard. So end of the day, only thing that really matters to me is that there's going to be somebody representing Charlotte at the U.S. Open Cup in the next round.
That's well said.
I agree. I think it's just a beautiful moment for the city. I think it's a really cool moment for Charlotte Independence because, they've been around even before Charlotte FC. And I've said it before in the podcast, I think we're looking for a little bit of love. I think we deserve a little bit of love. I think I've said it from the beginning. There's space for 2 professional teams in the city. And, I think what we're hoping is to put a good performance out there for people to say, hey, look, they're a good team. They can stand their ground. And I think that's the objective for us moving forward. And our mentality is to go and win the game because I do believe we can do it. But Ryan,
an unbiased opinion here.
No, I wanted to ask you, Ryan. Were you? I know you follow along the Open Cup. What do you make of the last results? What do you make of this new next round? Right, it's going to be a bunch of MLS teams playing USL teams. So and MLS next, I guess, Chattanooga. But what do you make of this next round?
There's definitely opportunities to come. I think each one of the last 3-4 years, at least one MLS team has been upset along the way. I think there were 2 a year for 3 years straight or something like that. MLS teams that got, bounced by one of the respective USL teams. So of course the opportunity is there, but, kind of going off of that, is how it gives more of these guys the opportunities to show what they got against these top teams. Right. And, even if the lower teams don't often win, they at least make it close. And I'm sure that, you guys have seen your fair share of that in this tournament so far. And, Clay, I'm sure, especially with you, with kind of what's on the line, what kind of a game this is, you kind of mentioned it earlier, But the fact that you kind of keep showing up game in and game out, playing full 90s despite, the injury that we talked about, you know, what type of a grind is it also when you know that you don't just have to show up because, you're the captain, you're kind of the leader in this, but you're showing up for full 90s game in and game outs, full 120s in some of these instances, and you know that at the very least, you want to put up a show for your teammates, for your fans, at the very least, make this a close one and maybe be one of those teams that could create a cup set when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Like I said, I don't take it for granted that I'm able to play every day and play every game. And if the coaches keep trusting me to play every minute, then I would love to do that. But like I said earlier, it's just something that I've kind of learned as I've gotten older and gone through the league more, is like I can't look too far ahead. So right now, like if you were to ask me like how much I've thought about the game, like the thought crosses my mind, but I try to just think about training. So like today, like I had certain checklists in my head that I wanted to complete at training, whether it was doing like a couple extra runs fitness wise or a couple extra touches in certain situations in the game that I want to make sharper. So doing that and like kind of working with this high performance mindset coach that I've started to work with and really just setting up my days to try to get 1% better each day keeps me focused on the present moment and the task at hand. And so I think that also keeps me rejuvenated mindset wise and being able to show up each game and each training. But I like, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want it any other way. And like, I want to keep working in a sense that like, I want to earn that each and every day because it's like, it's a privilege and a blessing. So just taking care of my body, watching what I eat, and then mentally being able to switch off. Like each night, my wife and I play a couple board games to kind of ease my mind. And then I go home, like I'll go home from this and just play with my kids for a couple hours. And like, that's the best reset. And that honestly, that's probably the biggest part that keeps me fresh mentally. So yeah, it's a grind, but like I said, I'm trying to do everything I can, control everything I can that I can be able to show up every day.
I kind of want to go off of one of the things that you mentioned of like how you've kind of made Charlotte a home for like your wife and your kids and everything else of the sort. Is there maybe something extra to know that no matter how this game shakes out, there's going to be a well done representation of Charlotte? Because if I recall correctly, when you won Comeback Player of the Year, you got recognized by the local hockey team, the Charlotte Checkers, and that type of thing. It's not just you've kind of absorbed yourself into Charlotte, but they've kind of bought into you as well. Does that kind of make this opportunity a little extra special because you know that no matter how the game shakes out, there's going to be a good representative of Charlotte going forward, kind of like what Emmanuel said?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just how the city has kind of treated my family and I has felt like home, and like we are very active in our church community, so we have like a big family there. And like if something were to happen to me or to my wife or to my kids where we needed help, we would probably have like 20 or 30 people offering to help. And like we're just so grateful for the village that is behind us, and I think they kind of keep us going on tough days. And so being able to put this type of game in front of them is something that's going to be special as well. Like John and I were just talking about how many tickets do you think you'll need for the game, and it's funny, but like I could give you a crazy number of how many people would show up. So I think it just talks about like the community we have here, and that's something that's kept us in Charlotte this whole time. Honestly, it's a huge family. Like you said, the hockey team, and just when you go meet somebody from them, they know this other person, and everybody's kind of connected, and it really does feel like a family.
One thing I'm very curious about is the way the supporter groups are gonna,
Yeah,
approach this game, because a lot of the Charlotte FC supporters originally Charlotte Independence supporters, and I mean some of them do still show up to the Charlotte Independence games on Sundays, Saturdays. So to me, that's going to be an interesting topic because they have different chants that they do. So I wonder if there's going to be kind of like Charlotte FC or like oh ring that bell. Like what's that going to be like?
That is true. Yeah, it's gonna be funny. I'm also like, I've had to like tell my oldest Callum, because he obviously knows Uncle Brant. So like I've been telling him like, oh, we're gonna play Uncle Brant's team, and then he's like, Charlotte. He's like, aren't you Charlotte? And I'm like, oh no, like his brain is gonna be so confused.
Yeah, it should be just honestly like I think us as players and the MLS players will go in with the mentality to win. I think it's just a huge celebration of soccer. We've been talking about all these events coming up here in the U.S., like the World Cup and all these things, and I think this is kind of like a World Cup for Charlotte in a sense of for the people that actually love the game in the city and have been around and are Charlotte Independence fans and Charlotte FC fans. it's just a great moment to celebrate the sport in the city, and hopefully a lot of people will show up and we'll make it a memorable day for everyone. A huge celebration of the game.
Now, this is a city derby, right? So we can take this example and apply it to other cities. But having this internal competition between USL and Charlotte, MLS, what do you think that does for the growth of U.S. soccer?
Oh, I think it's huge. Like you said, Charlotte's just one of the cities this happens in across America. So I think deep down, us players are always kind of thinking like, oh, I hope we match up against the MLS team in our city, and I know all the other players are thinking that too. And like you said, it's just a chance to showcase that there's another high-level professional soccer team here in Charlotte, and like we'd love to support. Like we can coexist, like John said. There's space for both of us, and I think it's just something that hopefully builds a lot of momentum and excitement around the game and continues to flourish.
Couldn't have said it better. I mean, we just love the game, and I think it'll be a great game for fans to, support soccer and both teams. Hopefully, they can come into the game with the mentality of like, let's just enjoy. I'm sure people will have a bias on who they want to win, but that's okay with us.
Yeah, and you're back. But I think you were clear health wise by the coach, so we may see you on the starting lineup. So that'll be exciting for us. We've been trying to watch you play, but what's going on there, man?
Yeah, so I mean, I got my first minutes back in New York last week, and now we have a big break for 10 days until the Charlotte FC game. So I'm just happy to be able to be back training and enjoying the game. And like Clay said, I think we both take a lot of pride in enjoying training and the day to day. So I'll be available for the coach, and at that point, I'm just happy to be back. So hopefully I can help the team and get some minutes.
Yes, sir.
I did have one more before, we kind of finish this topic of things. If, we're kind of been talking a lot about momentum for the future of U.S. soccer, right? And what the USL is doing. We've talked a lot on the show previously about the whole pro rel situation, but you were part of previously we've talked about this thing before with different tiers and the levels of the American soccer pyramid. And, we all know we've talked about before the whole pro rel situation that's coming in USL. First off, what are kind of your overall thoughts on how that can help develop the future of not just soccer in the US, but the USL as a whole, since you played on both sides of it, on what that can do for just US soccer as a whole going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think like obviously the growth that would come from it is exponential, like the opportunity for cities, clubs, players, coaches, like everything, the growth of everything kind of, it could be exponential. But at the same time, like I think people need to realize that there has to be stuff set in place in terms of players' contracts, the CBA, like it's going to have to pertain to all three divisions of USL. So there's like a lot of stuff, a lot of things that need to be put in motion before that happens. But I think it's a really good thing for soccer in the US. We see it in Europe, and like some of my favorite games to watch at the end of the year or in the end of the European year is the English Championship, the playoffs that they play at Wembley. Like those players go out there knowing like their life can change if they win this game. Like they're ready to dive on the field. And I think like those games are so special, knowing you go into those games and what's at stake. And I would love to see that happen here in the US. It would just mean so much more to the players, so much more to the fans, the owners, like it just trickles down. And so I think there is just an opportunity for it that hasn't been seen before in any American sport. Like that doesn't happen here. Usually just somebody comes in with a lot of money, wants to start a team, and they're there until they want to sell it, or somebody else with more money comes in and buys it. So I think to see what, those people at Wrexham have done and thinking that could happen here in the US, like that's really exciting. And I hope I see it one day.
Kind of going off of that, Charlotte went through a really interesting situation about 4 or so years ago where they kind of decided to relegate down to USL League One. You were a part of the team throughout that transition from Championship to League One. What is that process like as a player? I know this is a topic for like 2 years, 3 years from now, but it still kind of pertains in its own way in the USL. And I'm curious from your standpoint, having lived through it, having gone through that, what that kind of quote unquote relegation process is like as a player.
Yeah, so we were told towards it, like obviously there was rumors going around that it was going to happen when Charlotte FC was here. And just personally, we had just had our first son, so I was like, I really needed to take into consideration my wife and her kind of thoughts on if we should move or if we shouldn't move. Charlotte has so much for us, but I want to stay playing championship. And just like from the ego side of things, I didn't want to relegate myself to League One. Like I feel like I had just established myself in championship and I don't want to drop down. Being fully transparent, I was going to leave and sign with a team who I won't name, but due to some restrictions at the time in terms of vaccines, my contract was taken away. And so I told Charlotte, like, well, like, what are you guys going to offer? They wanted me to stay, so they offered me. And then between that, it was kind of like, you know, this is probably the best offer I'm going to get financially. I took it as a sign from God of like, hey, I want you to stay here in Charlotte. You have so much going for you here. And I'm really thankful I did. But yeah, I think it was just like a big ego hit. I was like, you know, I've grinded so hard to get where I am. I want to stay at this level. And I could see myself continuing to progress, but it all worked out how it's supposed to. And, you know, I've been here ever since. But yeah, it's definitely really weird how like it can happen. And obviously it was all because of money and FC coming in. And so like they wanted to see how they could coexist and this and that, which I understand. But yeah, it's really odd. And, you know, that was kind of like my personal experience about it. But like I said, I was super grateful and happy of how it turned out. Because at the time, I didn't know what was going to happen with the club.
And then that arises the possibility of you guys, assuming you're still playing with them in about a year or two's time, the opportunity and the possibility of, let's say Pro Rel comes, you guys kill it on the table, and you get Charlotte back into the championship that way in 2 years' time or so.
Yeah, that would be the perfect ending to a movie, wouldn't it? If we got promoted after everything we've been through as a club. But even for me personally, like how I've been here for a long time, and if I was still here by then hopefully, God willing, I'd be the most capped player in history, and that's something that I have on my goals. So I would kind of ride into the sunset at that point, getting promoted. But yeah, that would be cool.
So yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing all that with us. And since it's World Cup year and you're a big US fan, right? You need to share with all our viewers, you know, he's the biggest Christian Pulisic fan.
Oh, no, yeah.
Clay thinks Christian Pulisic is the best player in the world.
This is great. This is great news. Thank you.
So what do you think, man? Are you guys going to win the World Cup? What are the expectations for you?
Expectations are high. The boys are gonna do it. I mean, I don't know. I just love America, so like I'm biased, but you know,
play the eagle sound, the eagle screeching.
Play Freebird.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we had the whole family watching the hockey when they won the gold medal, so I'm sure it'll be the same thing. Family gather around the TV watching America play. Yeah, I just hope they do well. You know, like it's in the States, which is special.
What does do well mean?
Make it out of the group.
He's like, that's it.
Yeah. Make it out of the group. Maybe win a couple knockout games.
You know,
couple knockouts. You guys have only won one knockout game in your history.
I think we'll make a run. I just feel some momentum.
Oh my god, Clay, what were you thinking when they were playing Belgium and Portugal?
Bro, the first one was rough, bro. I felt bad for the boys. I was like, yeah. But you know, those are just tune-up games.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, those are just tune-up games. But yeah, I try not to get my expectations too high. And then that way, like, if something happens, then it happens. But I just hope they do well, especially for, like, all those guys. Like, to be playing in a World Cup in their home country, like, you know they're going to try to do everything they can to put out a good show. And so I hope they do well just for them and for the country.
Do you still claim that Christian Pulisic is the best player in the world?
Oh, yeah. If I'm starting my team and I need a left winger, like, he's the first choice.
That's crazy.
I'm loyal, bro. I'm loyal.
It's on camera now. You know, there's no taking back.
I'm loyal.
So let's go ahead and ask you this, because you know we get John here every other weekend. God bless, you know. But I mean, hopefully you come back, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know when we're gonna see you again here. So you know, a little bit of the World Cup. Your favorite? Who's that? Other than the USA? Well, favorite to actually win it.
I mean, I like watching Spain. I'd probably say Spain would probably be my I think they have a really good chance of winning it.
So because you're a Barcelona fan.
Yeah. My loyalty lies in Barcelona for sure.
I got you. Now let me ask you. So it's gonna be like 5 different questions.
Okay.
So we're gonna pick the best striker that you would, put on your team if you were to play in a game against another team, right? So we're gonna start with Benny Jr. Um, so he's the base, right? Will you keep him or let Andrew come in?
I would keep Benny.
All right, Benny or Mbappe?
Take Mbappe.
Mbappe or Pedri?
Pedri.
Pedri or Messi?
Messi.
Messi or Christian Pulisic?
Ooh. No, I'm kidding. No, but Messi.
I was hoping you would say Christian, and I was gonna say John or Christian.
I'll take Pulisic.
Oh boy, yeah. Ryan, what's going on? You're a little quiet over there. Come on, dog.
No, I'm just watching this at this
Ryan,
point. This is
Listen,
I'm entertained right now. I'm having a front row seat to this convo.
Ryan, listen. I know Clay got your heart when he said he was watching U.S. Hockey team, man, and the fact that the Checkers gave him an award. That's your sport, man. And hey,
yeah.
you should see his son playing hockey. He's gonna be a hockky superstar.
Yeah, he has a mean backhand.
Honestly, that'd be pretty nasty, especially with how good the Canes are doing. But Buffalo Sabres on the up and up. Just broke a 15-year drought over the weekend. Had to represent my boys.
Ryan, you know who the other pro athlete, the only other one who had the same surgery as me is Jack Eichel.
Jack Eichel, yep. And that was actually it's actually so interesting that you guys both had very similar kind of neck surgeries. Both of them were this has never been attempted by a pro athlete, and if they have, they never came back from it. And yet I have, at the very least, two examples of guys who got the procedure, successfully got it done, kept playing at a high level. I think the data is still a little unreliable. 2 is a very small sample size, but maybe it's a trend. Maybe the cervical disc replacement is going to be the latest in sports medicine.
No, for sure.
I was going to say I'm sure. I mean, I've done my first spell of PT before. I'm sure you're still doing something that kind of just keeps it trained and well conditioned, everything else of the sort.
Yeah. I mean, it's an ongoing thing. Like I said, it's such a unique injury that obviously from the mobility wise, my neck will get stiff, but it's more sort of the neurological stuff, my eye movement, tracking my eye movement and my vestibular system in terms of the inner ear balance and getting all that. Sometimes I have to tweak it a little bit, but it's just so much that goes into it. Sometimes it's exhausting. I just want to sleep.
John, these guys know I like to just break into chaos every so often. And I just love to just throw a question completely left field. So give us your number one tip of what it takes to raise a good chicken coop.
Yeah. To raise a good chicken. We have 16 chickens in my family.
Oh, yeah. How did you know that, Ryan? You're weird, though. Yeah. You agree?
The best tip I could give is, let's see. I don't know. We actually just had a funeral for Penny. Penny died on Sunday.
R.I.P. for Penny.
I had a good eulogy, though. It was good. She was good for us. She laid a lot of eggs.
How were the chicken nuggets?
Number one tip would probably be make the chicken run. So the part that they can run around in long enough where you don't have to let them into the whole backyard. So you keep the backyard nice still. But yeah, that'd probably be the number one. Then make your oldest son fall in love with the chicken. So he loves to do chicken chores every day. So we call him.
Dang.
The more you know, man. We have a whole farm. You want eggs? I got you.
Clay, first of all, thank you so much for coming today. We're hoping you can come back at some point. It's your story, the person you are, is super inspiring. So thanks for sharing that with us. And let's close it out with some positive news for the weekend. Who's Charlotte FC playing?
Nashville, I believe.
Ooh.
So
they could keep the run going.
Yeah, so we normally do a thing where we guess MLS results. What do you think, Charlotte FC or National Clay?
If they start Brant, then Charlotte.
I have a feeling Clay has had a Brownico burger already. Have you?
A what?
A Brownico burger?
I haven't, no, but I told him because they go to church with us, and I told him bro, bring me one. I just couldn't get there the day. I think we were gone, John.
Yeah.
I think we were gone. But yeah, have you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, hey, you have one of Veronica's best friends. You've been
Okay.
posting videos.
You know,
about,
But
like,
if
this is your chance to
this
connect
is
with him
cheating,
directly.
bro. So we were doing a challenge, right? A crossbar challenge, and we kind of got a little inconsistent just because we got busy. But yeah, we're trying to challenge them to a crossbar challenge. So
He would love it.
if you see him,
Yeah, I'll let him know.
let them know.
I'll let him know.
Yeah, unless it's care. I mean, I have been hitting them one timers.
Ryan, who you got? Charlotte FC or Nashville?
I think it's gonna be like a very high scoring tie, like a 2-2 or 3-3,
Love your
something like
ties.
that.
Yeah, Charlotte's definitely gonna take the win. I think they're in a good run, especially the way they've been playing. It'll be interesting to see a team without Saha. You know, he did get that suspension with that fifth yellow. So
I think he wanted to rest before Shaw Independence game.
yeah, you never know. He probably saw the pod and saw what you had to say. He was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go full steam."
Well, we'll see. I got Charlotte FC. I think they're playing well, and at home, I think they're really good at home. So yeah.
Dang, we finally all agree.
No, except Ryan.
He didn't agree.
No, he said a tie.
This
always.
dude loves ties, bro. Jesus Christ. Well, guys, it was a great episode. I mean, I think we all had fun here, on and off camera. So, again, Clay, thank you for coming. We hope to see you back. And yeah, good luck next week. You know, against Charlotte, that'll be a good match to watch. I'll definitely be there. You know, cheering everybody on, literally everybody. So, yeah, any final words for you guys?
No, I'll just say thank you guys for having me. I'm always, grateful and humbled to be asked to do this stuff and share my story, and hopefully it inspires somebody out there because, I'd like to have role models growing up, and I think we all do. So, yeah, I just really appreciate you guys letting me tell my story and being on the pod. It was fun.
Tune in every week to ESPN Plus for the latest in USL League One. I'm only saying that because I'm calling a game this weekend. I'm in Naples, Battle of Florida against Sarasota. But as per usual, like, comment, subscribe, share this podcast wherever you may be. Suggest your topic ideas or any sort of rankings, tier lists, etc. We always love doing them. Clay, appreciate it as always, man. I got a chance to. I've called plenty of your games, and just like with John, it's finally a great chance to get a chance to talk to you guys, more face to face in this more regular setting. And thank you so much for being with us, man.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
Okay, guys. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Bam.